Level 1. Imagine standing on a crumbling triple-layered stone wall, looking out at a literal ocean of campfires stretching all the way to the horizon. 80,000 Ottoman soldiers, elite Janissaries, and a massive 27-foot-long bronze supercannon are pointed directly at your chest. You are in the year 1453, and you have just been handed the single worst defensive assignment in human history, keeping the dying city of Constantinople alive for 53 grueling days. You have no modern weapons, no reinforcements coming from Europe, and the entire medieval world is betting on your immediate demise. But you aren't completely helpless. You have dropped into this historical simulation with a rugged backpack containing 21st century tactical reconnaissance gear and a brain packed with future historical data. The countdown has begun. The sky is filling with black powder smoke, and you have to survive the ultimate siege or find yourself immortalized as a plaster cast in a modern Turkish museum. The transition from the modern world to the ancient world is not a gentle experience. One second you are sitting in front of a high-resolution computer screen, and the next, a blinding flash of blue light slams your senses into a reality dominated by the suffocating smell of horse sweat, burning sulfur, and old wool. Your boots are sinking into the damp earth of the inner Theodosian Wall. You look left and right, seeing terrifyingly thin lines of exhausted men wearing iron breastplates and clutching heavy wooden crossbows. They are looking at you like you are a foreign lunatic who just materialized out of thin air. You reach down, unclip your solar-powered tactical command tablet, and look at the offline digital calendar. It reads April 6, 1453. This is the exact day Sultan Mehmed II opens fire on the city. You have precisely 53 days to change the course of global civilization, and your first hour starts right now. Level 2. To successfully navigate the opening stage of this simulation, you have to understand the brutal asymmetrical math of the 1453 siege. Constantinople is a legendary fortress, protected by a 4-mile system of walls that have successfully repelled every invading army for over 1,000 years. But inside those walls, the situation is catastrophic. The Roman Empire has shriveled down to a single city. Emperor Constantine can only muster about 7,000 active defenders. And a third of those are foreign mercenaries who are only here for the paycheck. You are outnumbered more than 10 to 1. Communication across the 4-mile defensive line relies entirely on sweaty runners scrambling up stone staircases or archaic flag signals that become completely useless the moment a cannon blast kicks up a cloud of dust. Now look at what you brought to this medieval knife fight. Inside your tactical backpack is a commercial thermal imaging reconnaissance drone, 6 long-range encrypted handheld walkie-talkies, a solar charging fabric mat, and a tablet loaded with every known blueprint, map, and historical diary of the Ottoman siege strategy. You possess the ultimate military asset, the complete elimination of the fog of war. In 1453, a commander is completely blind to what the enemy is doing behind their own trench lines. They have to guess where the next infantry assault will land based on pure instinct. You, however, can see through the dark, map out enemy troop movements from 3,000 feet in the air, and predict their exact tactical decisions days before they even make them. You are an omniscient entity trapped in a dying city, and it is time to test your power against the world's first industrial artillery barrage. Level 3. The real test of your future technology begins when a deafening roar shakes the very foundation of the stone tower you are standing on. Sultan Mehmed II has unleashed the Basilica, a monstrous bronze cannon designed by a Hungarian engineer named Urban. This mechanical beast fires 1,200-pound stone balls capable of obliterating ancient masonry in a single strike. Roman defenders fall to their knees, crossing themselves and praying for divine intervention as a massive section of the outer wall turns into a mountain of flying splinters and dust. They think the world is ending. You, however, calmly unclip your thermal drone, power up the electric rotors, and send it buzzing into the morning sky. The surrounding soldiers scream, dropping their weapons as they watch a glossy plastic bird defy gravity and disappear into the smoke. You look down at your tablet screen, viewing a crystal-clear, real-time aerial map of the Ottoman camp. While the Sultan's engineers are frantically reloading the massive Basilica cannon, a process that takes them an agonizing 3 hours per shot, you spot a stealthy detachment of 3,000 elite Ottoman skirmishers positioning themselves in a hidden ravine. Preparing to rush a damaged section of the St. Romanus Gate under the cover of night, you do not panic. You walk up to Giovanni Giustiniani, the legendary Genoese mercenary captain in charge of the wall defenses. You hand him a heavy, weatherproof military walkie-talkie, press the push-to-talk button, and show him the glowing screen. You guide his elite crossbowmen and Greek fire units to the exact breach in complete darkness. Hours before the enemy arrives, when the Ottoman ambush party climbs out of the ditch, they are not met with an empty wall. They are met with a coordinated, devastating rain of bolts and incendiary fluid. You have won the first engagement without losing a single man. Level 4. By the second week of the siege, your invisible tactical network has completely shattered the traditional psychological rules of medieval engagement. The Ottoman High Command is thrown into a state of intense paranoia. Their midnight mining operations are being countered with perfect precision. Every time their engineers dig a subterranean tunnel to blow up the walls from underneath, Roman counterminers are already waiting for them with barrels of gunpowder, collapsing the tunnels before they can set their fuses. Their surprise infantry probes are met with perfectly positioned defenders every single time. Rumors begin to ripple through the tents of the Janissaries about an all-seeing oracle residing on the Christian walls, a demon that commands a flying mechanical beetle and possesses the power of instant telepathy. Inside the city, the psychological shift is equally intense but far more dangerous for you. The Roman defenders begin to look at your glowing plastic tablet not as a piece of technology, but as a literal holy relic sent by the Virgin Mary to save the capital of Christendom. Cults of personality start forming around your position on the walls. Soldiers scramble to touch your backpack for good luck before going on duty. Emperor Constantine himself invites you to the imperial palace, seeking your counsel over a map of the city. But this newfound religious fame is a double-edged sword. You have successfully raised their morale, but you have also caught the personal attention of Sultan Mehmed II. The 21-year-old Ottoman ruler realizes that someone inside the city is completely anticipating his playbook, and he decides to escalate the violence to a level your modern manuals never prepared you for. Level 5. The ultimate historical crisis hits on April 22nd, and it arrives with a tactical maneuver that should be physically impossible. You are monitoring your drone's aerial feed in the early hours of the morning when you notice massive movement behind the hills of Galata, north of the city. Your screen displays thousands of oxen and soldiers hauling 80 fully armed Ottoman warships over a makeshift road made of greased wooden logs on dry land. Mehmed II is literally bypassing the massive iron chain that the Romans stretched across the water to protect the Golden Horn Harbor. He is moving his fleet over a hill and dropping it directly into your undefended northern flank. The historical timeline dictates that this move completely breaks the spirit of the defenders, forcing them to divide their already thin forces to protect the sea walls. You look at the digital countdown on your tablet. Day 16. You have to react in real time to a tactical boss fight that is unfolding right before your eyes. You use your drone to track the exact positioning of the newly launched Ottoman fleet in the harbor. Coordinating a desperate midnight fireship raid with the remaining Venetian and Genoese captains, you act as the eyes in the sky using your walkie-talkie to guide the silent, dark wooden fireships directly toward the anchored Ottoman vessels. The sky turns a bright, violent orange as 3 major enemy warships erupt into flames before they can even land a single Marine on your northern docks. You have mitigated the disaster, but the sheer physical exhaustion of the siege is about to catch up with you. Level 6. Just as you feel like an invincible military mastermind, you slam directly into the invisible wall of 15th century social reality. You can see every threat on your screen, but you cannot speak medieval Greek or court Latin fluently. Your communication relies on broken phrases, frantic hand gestures, and pointing at a glowing screen that the locals still partially believe is powered by dark witchcraft. More importantly, you have absolutely zero ancestral lineage, zero noble titles, and zero political standing in a hyper-religious aristocratic society that values bloodlines over future intelligence. The initial wonder of your technology begins to curdle into deep suspicion. The ultra-Orthodox priests inside the city look at your thermal drone and declare it a tool of the devil, claiming that relying on a glowing glass box instead of prayer is bringing the literal wrath of God upon the empire. The wealthy Roman senators, terrified of losing their properties, begin to whisper that you are an advanced Ottoman double agent who is using fake maps to manipulate the emperor into spending his last reserves of gold on mercenary wages. You find yourself trapped in the middle of vicious theological debates and political backstabbing inside the Hagia Sophia, while the outer walls are literally turning into piles of gravel under the constant hammering of the Ottoman artillery. You realize that knowing the future means absolutely nothing if you cannot convince the people of the past to put aside their prejudices and listen to you. Level 7. By the 4th week of the siege, the unforgiving tyranny of modern electronics logistics begins its slow, mechanical assassination of your strategy. A commercial reconnaissance drone is designed for weekend hobbyists, not for continuous high-altitude military operations inside a dense cloud of corrosive black powder smoke and pulverized stone dust. The high-precision electric motors of your drone begin to whine and shudder as microparticles of sand clog the internal bearings. The carbon fiber propellers are heavily chipped from hitting stray debris during a low-altitude pass over the enemy trenches. Worse, the constant, thick canopy of sulfurous smoke hanging over Constantinople has severely compromised your solar fabric mat. Your tablet and walkie-talkies are charging at a fraction of their normal speed. You are forced to ration your battery life down to the single minute. One evening, an unexpected rainstorm hits, and one of your critical walkie-talkies falls off the ramparts of the Blachernay Palace. plunging 60 feet down into a pool of stagnant mud and shattering its internal motherboard. You have no spare parts, no soldering iron, and no way to manufacture a lithium-ion cell using a medieval blacksmith's forge. Your futuristic omnipotence is rotting away from the inside out, and you are slowly being dragged down into the primitive, bloody mud of the 15th century. With your modern technology hovering on the edge of permanent battery death, you are forced to pivot from high-tech scouting to psychological warfare. You pull up your tablet's offline historical database one last time, checking the exact records of the environment during the final weeks of the siege. You find exactly what you need, a documented astronomical anomaly. On May 22nd, a full lunar eclipse is scheduled to take place, followed by a thick, unnatural fog that will roll over the city, culminating in a strange, flickering light reflecting off the dome of the Hagia Sophia. In the original timeline, this event completely destroyed the remaining morale of the Romans, who interpreted the light as the Holy Spirit permanently abandoning Constantinople. You decide to turn this impending psychological disaster into a weapon of survival. 3 days before the eclipse occurs, you gather the emperor, the city magistrates, and the terrified populace in the public square. You predict the exact hour and minute the moon will turn to blood, and you explain the scientific reality of the atmospheric reflection that will illuminate the great church. But you frame it through their own vocabulary. You tell them that the light is not the Holy Spirit leaving, but a divine shield absorbing the fires of Vulcan, a sign that the Ottoman Sultan's artillery will lose its power if the defenders can simply hold the breaches for just one more week. When the eclipse happens exactly as you prophesied, the city doesn't fall into panic. They explode into a frenzy of religious defiance. The Janissaries outside the walls watch in utter confusion as the starving, exhausted Romans sing hymns of victory from the battlements in the pitch-black night. Level 9. The simulation reaches its ultimate terrifying climax on May 29, 1453. This is day 53. The Sultan has unleashed his final massive three-wave assault. Every single gun, cannon, and archer in the Ottoman army is firing simultaneously. The sky is completely black with smoke, and the ground is vibrating so violently that you cannot stand up without holding onto the stone battlements. Your tablet screen gives a final, pathetic beep and goes completely dead. Your drone is nothing but a melted piece of plastic inside your backpack. You are completely blind, and the ultimate historical event is unfolding around you in real time. Suddenly, a massive cry of terror echoes from the northern sector. A small hidden postern gate at the base of the walls, the Kirkoporta, was accidentally left unlocked by a careless detachment of defenders. 50 elite Janissaries have slipped inside the inner walls and raised the Ottoman banner over the tower. Panic spreads through the Roman lines like an infectious disease at the exact same moment. Justiniani is severely wounded by shrapnel and carried down to the harbor, causing his mercenary troops to abandon their posts. The St. Romanus breach is completely overwhelmed by a wave of thousands of shouting soldiers. You are standing in the middle of the breaking line with a blunt iron sword in your hand, facing a wall of charging steel. You have a split-second choice to make. You can stay and fight a heroic, completely useless death on a collapsing wall to preserve a dead empire, or you can use your remaining historical knowledge to gather a small, critical group of surviving engineers, scholars, and rare manuscripts and lead them through the chaotic, burning alleys toward the western harbor before the Ottoman fleet completely seals the exits. Level 10. You choose survival, pushing through the desperate, screaming crowds down at the docks, throwing your weight onto the deck of the last escaping Venetian galley as it cuts its ropes and glides away into the Sea of Marmara. You look back at the smoking ruins of Constantinople as the sun sets over the Golden Horn. The city has officially fallen, and the Middle Ages have come to a violent, definitive close. But as you look around the cramped deck of the galley, at the weeping people you managed to pull from the ruins, you realize you have achieved something extraordinary in the original timeline of human history. The fall of Constantinople was a sudden, chaotic massacre that wiped out generations of ancient knowledge and trapped thousands of families in lifelong servitude. But because of your 53-day campaign of tactical deterrence, economic coordination, and psychological manipulation, you completely altered the evacuation statistics of the capital. You bought enough time for dozens of ship convoys to slip away into the Mediterranean weeks before the final assault. The rare Greek manuscripts, the mathematical texts, and the classical engineering scholars you saved on this very ship are heading directly to the universities of Italy, jump-starting the European Renaissance decades ahead of schedule. The blueprints and scientific methodology you introduced to the local builders during your short stay have altered the trajectory of architecture and metallurgy across the region. The city walls may have fallen, but the timeline of human progress was permanently accelerated. All because a single 21st century strategist stepped onto a crumbling medieval wall and forced the world's greatest empire to fight for every single inch of history.